part of receiving is having the self-trust that when it comes, I can hold it. And every little bit you receive, you're like, oh, I did it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can hold more. And so it's this, I talked about it in coaching with someone yesterday, the work we've been doing over the last 3 months. He's really starting to see some crazy results in his life. And it's because it's starting to compound now. And his ability to like be vulnerable and say, you know, he had a big race, a huge race that was some of the prep we'd been doing in coaching. And the day before, he admitted to his mate, his training partner for the first time, about feeling a bit nervous, hadn't been vulnerable about feelings as in the past, as we've been working on, and did a lot of work throughout the race. Incredible story. It like took 30 minutes off a PB because, and in his kind of racing, that's almost unheard of. So like, this is it, because the more self-trust and confidence and belief you build, the more you can receive. And as I said, the flip side is the less we're gripping and in survival mode, the more we can receive. So there's 2 areas that we really can leverage in order to receive more in our life, in our business, in our careers, with our families, with the people we care about. Welcome to Limitless, the podcast for cycle breakers, change makers, and conscious leaders who are done performing, proving, and pleasing, and are ready to live, lead, and create from deep alignment. I'm your host, Fiona Walsh. Every 2 weeks, I hold space for real soul-expanding conversations with guests who are still in it. They're navigating their biggest fears, shedding old identities, letting go of patterns that no longer serve them, and rising into their limitless potential. Together, we share what it's really like to be human, messy, raw, imperfect, and learning to own every part of ourselves, even the ones we've tried to keep neatly tucked away. We go deep into the work of coming home to yourself, getting out of your head, feeling safe in your body, letting go of old stories, and creating a life that's true to who you really are. Subscribing to Limitless is the best way to make sure you never miss an episode. So hit pause and tap follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Because this isn't about doing more. It's actually about remembering who you are. And that's what makes you limitless. Welcome to Limitless. Today, I'm joined by McKenzie. Welcome back, McKenzie.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming again. Today, we are going to be talking about the art of receiving, which is a topic near and dear to both of our heart. Today, we're going to share about what receiving means to us. When we think of receiving, we always think about calling in more abundance, more love, more joy, more freedom, all the things our hearts desire. But we're also going to talk about what happens when you call in receiving on the flip side. So what your body and nervous system does when you want to receive more, and how receiving isn't just about calling in what you want. There's other stuff going on that's important. And we are also launching today our masterclass, Regulate and Rise, the first one for 2026, which we're going to be hosting on the 11/1 portal. So 111 for those of you in North America. We're opening the container on Sunday the 11th. It will be the Monday morning in Australia and New Zealand if you're listening from that part of the world. And we would love to welcome you to come and open up, release for the start of the year, and then call in what you want to receive in 2026. It's going to be the year of the visionary leader, the year of the horse. There's some really cool stuff that we're going to share in the masterclass. So we can't wait to have you there. But today we're going to talk about what receiving means to us and share some personal stories. So McKenzie, I'm going to hand it over to you first. Tell me about, what does receiving mean to you, and what have you learned about it over the years?
Yeah, so receiving to me is really, when I think about it in an energetic sense, it's really that state of openness that really allows you to expand what you see possible for yourself. So when I think of like receiving, I feel like it's open to new opportunities, new solutions. It's just a different perspective in the way that I see things. And it's also like not just those resources, but it's guidance, it's intuition, it's those little signs that you get from the universe that you feel like it's just that little God wink. Like to me, when I think of being placed in a place of receivership, that is really what it is. It's like this deep sense of alignment. I'm open and aware to it all.
Beautiful, beautiful. And have you got any personal like anecdotes or stories of when either you've been able to receive or when you haven't, or when you learned something about the flip side of receivership?
Yeah. So when I was really reflecting on this in those moments of really allowing myself to receive, or when I wasn't receiving, and the one thing that really was so prominent in my memory was my vision board experiences. And I've really only made 2 vision boards ever. And I've been on the, personal development journey for the better part of 6 years or 7 years now.
I've only made 2 as well, I just
really?
realized.
Okay.
And one of them might have been with you in California.
Oh, actually, that's a lie. I've made 3. I made 3, but I don't think that one ever made it home with me. It didn't fit in my bag, actually. So yes, I have made 3, but the very first time I sat down to do that, I remember sitting down and I fucking hated it. Everything felt heavy in my body. It felt so deeply uncomfortable. It felt like one of those things of like, I should love this. I should be excited. This should make me feel joyful. And my experience was the exact opposite. And I made this vision board because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And I remember I couldn't even look at it. I had it sitting out for a little while. And every time I walked past it, it made me so deeply uncomfortable. Eventually, I just had to put it in a closet. And I remember thinking to myself, what is wrong with me?
What's it activating in you?
Yeah, like what is wrong with me? Why don't I enjoy this? And I didn't really have language for it at the time. I didn't really understand exactly what was happening. But what I realize now that I didn't realize then is I didn't feel safe receiving. And I realized in my ability to receive, so much of that was tied to my self-worth. So I grew up always feeling like, it's never going to work out for me. I remember having this belief a lot in love. Like I used to say that I had the curse of forever almost. Like I'd meet a great guy and it'd all be good. And then the other shoe would drop and it wouldn't work out. And I felt like I experienced a lot of that in my life. And so much of that ability to receive was tied to my self-worth and those stories that I held. And so I made the board, I put it in my closet. I didn't look at it again until I moved out of that apartment and I threw it away. I remember just looking at it and being like, see, like I wasn't meant for this life. Like this is bullshit. This is why I don't do this. Like why set my eyes on this big vision if I'm not worthy of having that, if it's never going to work out for me. Mm-hmm. And so then fast forward about 2 years, this was last year. So this was beginning of 2025. And at this point I had a daily breathwork practice. I had read countless mindset books. This was when I really started moving from just the mind into the somatic work.
Yeah.
And so I had a daily breath practice. I had gone on tons of breathwork journeys. I had done deeper somatic work as well. And I remember around New Year's, I said to my husband, like, let's make vision boards for ourselves. And in the past, I always felt like if he wasn't going to sit down and do it with me, like I couldn't do it by myself. Like I needed him to do it with me because it felt easier because it was something we were doing together. And I got all my pictures. I sat down and I ended up, he didn't make his. He had gotten some of his pictures, but he didn't make his. And I didn't care. And I remember like putting all of these pictures on my vision board and like feeling so excited. Like and it makes me emotional just thinking about it because I just remember like feeling like I have worked so fucking hard to get to this place. I have read hundreds of books. I have invested thousands of dollars. I have seen the shamans. I have drank the ayahuasca. Like I have done the shit and I have not gotten here. And so I made my vision board. I remember looking at it and just being like, fuck, I love the way that looks. I love the way it feels. I love the way it looks. And I put it up in my office and I'm looking at it right now, but I put it up in my office. And I remember I had this moment where I felt so emotional that I was like, this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like to truly feel safe, to receive and to feel worthy of the life that I desire and the things that I want to desire. And, I look at that vision board now and I look at some of them and I'm like, I have fucking manifested that. Like I have checked that off my list. And there's other things that hasn't happened yet. And in the past, I would have tied so much of that to my self-worth. I would have gone back into that, like, see, it doesn't work out and all those bullshit the stories. Yeah. And now I look at it and I'm like, it's on its way.
Yeah. It's
on its way.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's because I chose hundreds of moments to really like align my frequency. What's that phrase of you don't manifest what you want, you manifest what you believe or who you are.
Yeah. And what you can hold as well.
Exactly. And I felt I have been so consistent in creating the space and the capacity in my nervous system to really be able to hold and to believe and to shift out of those spirals that now it's like I can move. I'm not always in that place of receivership, but I can move to that place. And when those little moments happen of like, man, like I feel so much so differently than I used to. Yeah. Like that you can ground into those little micro moments and make those micro moments so profound and mean so much.
Oh, I love that so much. And it's really fascinating that our core wound or our core imprint, I think, is the one that tends to show up the most when it comes to our ability to receive and to trust and allow and to surrender. And I also was like, for you, what was really cool was that you were like, I feel like the clarity that you got from what you could visually see and what you could feel was this knowing that it was for you and you were ready for it. Whereas in the past, your body was going into protection mode and throwing everything at you and making you feel unsafe, which is why you put it away and then threw it out. Because it didn't feel safe to have those dreams. Whereas now they were like, there were visions and they were dreams and a lot of them have come true for you this year. So it's just like such a powerful story. Thank you for sharing. And what's interesting is I have a similar learning about the word receive and what it means to me in that, for the first time in 2025, I chose a word of the year that was going to be my like intention for the year. And I'd never done it before. I know lots of people do it. I've always had goals and stuff in the past, but this I was wanting to try something different on. And so when I was like asking my intuition and for like towards the end of last year, what's the word going to be? Receive kept coming up and I kept going, I don't like that one. Like I want a better one. I wanted like abundance or like prosperity, like magnetism or something like that. But it just kept coming and I was like, okay, it's receive. Okay. And this is people know this. I've actually shared that this is my word of the year. I'm not making this up for the point of this story. And I do remember at a similar time, my mentor, Christine, had said, just be forewarned. She actually said this on an earlier version of episode of Limitless, that the word that you pick for the year, just a bit of a call out, because you're going to be shown everywhere in your life and in your inner world where you're not currently able to do that. So, and I forgot that when I picked receive. I thought it was going to be like, bring me the clients and all the love and like, yeah. But no, I got shown, I got served up, and I'm still getting served up everywhere in my life where I control. So for me, my biggest piece of work is around control. So if things are starting to get uncertain, I like look for control. So I'm gripping and I'm like micromanaging it, and I can fix it and I can do all the things, and I go into hypervigilant and overfunctioning, perfectionism. All of my patterns show up. I could list them, like the whole laundry list. Pleasing as well, actually. And so it's very interesting, because this has been my year of like showing me in every element of my life where I struggle with control. And when I can be aware of that and have more awareness around my need for control and why it's there, once I've started to release that, guess what starts to come in? I start to receive. And in like a ridiculous way, like 1 week, a couple of weeks ago, I got like 3 new client leads in a week out of nowhere. And 2 of them were like crazy connections. I won't tell you the story of how they came in, but like super random how they found me, not through my podcast or through my social media or people who know me, which is usually where clients come to me from. And I think what's interesting for me, what I've learned about control, is that this need for control started with me when I was really, 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 really little. And it has played out throughout my life. And so I'm going to share a couple of examples, because I wouldn't have called it control because I hadn't dug into this pattern like I have this year. And I'll go into this more in the masterclass as well. But things about like when I was little, my inability to receive compliments was a huge one. And so people would be like, oh, you look really pretty, or I like your hair. I'd be like, oh no, like I don't like it and I have to do this and da da da. Like I remember friends saying to me, particularly as a teacher, you need to learn to take a compliment, which that's not overly helpful. But it was definitely like I struggled to receive compliments. And I know that had to do with, for me, when I was stressed and controlling and my nervous system was dysregulated and not feeling safe, I still to this day will look quite composed. And so my ability to control comes down to how I manage my image of how you see me. And even before we jumped on to record this podcast, we've had a bit of a clusterfuck of a morning here. We have a water leak in our house. School's closed because the power's out at school. The internet went down just as we were about to record. But as McKenzie said, oh my God, your hair looks great. And I was like, but this is me. Like, I'm like a duck above water. Oh, like got the nice sweater on, did the hair, makeup, but like, well, actually, I've done enough work on my nervous system that it is actually okay this morning. It would not have been even 6 months ago, to be frank with you all. I would have been like this. My hands would have been doing this under the table, but that's not the case anymore. And one of the things I think that is really interesting is once you become aware of your patterns, like the need to control, your whole body starts to soften, which is receive and surrender, because you're not in survival mode unconsciously all of the time. And so I think that when I was younger, I also used to think that I could control people's perception of me. I thought I could control their emotional responses to me. I thought I could control their thoughts about me. And I've learned over the last few years that I have no fucking control over any of that. And trying to think that I had that control and trying to exercise that control is what we call hypervigilance. And it is so exhausting.
Exhausting.
And you don't if you're doing that at work and you're doing it at home, and then you have kids and you try and do it with your kids, this is one of the biggest things that led to my burnout. It is one of the biggest things that women coming to me in coaching are burnt out by, and some men as well, particularly if they have people-pleasing tendencies, which is not a female-only thing. Like most of the guys I coach have got people-pleasing tendencies. And so, yeah, I think one of the core things that I learned about with my kids as well was the more that I try and control them, the more they respond to that. And we get into this cycle of control. And I'm also like trying to reparent myself as I parent them. And I don't want them to be feeling like they need to grip for control when things feel unsafe. And I actually am starting to see some of that patterning, particularly in my kids, now that I'm learning it more about myself. So I know a lot of you are doing this work as well because you don't want to pass on your own unconscious patterns and shit, to be frank, to your kids. And so trust me, you are, unless you're starting to see them for what they are, pierce the veil of what it is so you can create some awareness. And then the work that we like to do in our bodies, which is not our brain. The piercing can help our understanding, so I can talk to you about that I have this hypervigilance. We need to go into our bodies then to actually work with the original imprint, the safety mechanisms that our bodies are trained to do. They're trained to keep us safe. They're trained to survive against threat. And so unless we're aware of these patterns and these protective patterns, we are going to be unconsciously blocking our ability to receive every single day. And most of us are in survival mode most of the day, unfortunately. And so part of what we want to do in the masterclass is really help you guys clear out as much as possible, ground as much as possible, create safety in your body so that when you create a vision board or you make intentions or goals for 2026, your body feels safe enough and has the belief that, yeah, I'm worthy of this stuff. And I am in that energy and I am going to call it in. And your protective patterns, like my controller, is not going to come online and be like, oh, but how are you going to get it done? And we're going to do this and it's going to get in the way. They actually just take a back seat and allow what is truly yours to start flowing in.
Yeah.
Oh. Does that resonate, McKenzie?
Resonates so deeply. And what I feel so exciting, and I know you have seen it in the people that you work with, and I have seen it in my clients as well, and in our own lives. Like when you do this work, and we were talking about this before we started recording, you make this minor shift.
Yes.
And huge things happen. And it's so effortless. And it's like you bend time, space, reality because you're in that frequency. You are such an energetic match and you feel so safe receiving that thing that you make quantum leaps.
Yeah. 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 And the more we're aware of our survival mechanisms and our protective patterns, the better chance we have of catching them and acknowledging them and releasing the fear that is there with them. So usually it's got to do with, I can tell you now, fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of disappointing others, maybe fear of visibility or being disruptive. All these things that you're trying not to do because you want to feel safe and you want to feel enough and you want to feel loved and you want to feel valued. But we're in this like tug of war between what we want and desire and then what our body's like trying to keep us safe and protect us from stuff that happened to you when you were a little kid, unfortunately, that's shaping your perception of reality today.
Yeah. I had a moment with a client last week, actually, and this client had just received the biggest contract he had ever received in his entire career. Like I want to say he's been in his line of work for about almost 40 years, like 30, 40 years. And he received this huge contract. And he looked at me and he says, is it crazy that we've been doing this work and now this is happening in my career? And I laughed because I was like, no, it's not. Because I have seen this time and time again where I'm on a session with a client and we are working on specifically receiving and surrender and tapping into that energy. And we end the session and they have a message of, a brand that wants to collaborate with them, or they get, they open their inbox and there's a new client, or they meet like their ideal dream partner when they weren't even trying to. And it's just when we can like get into that energy and quiet those little protector parts,
yeah,
magic happens.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing that's keying for me as well is getting like understanding our protector parts. But then when we're able to be really clear on what we want to receive and state it really clearly. Like for me in November, I said very clearly, I want 2 new clients. I got 3 leads in a week, 2 of them converted. It was actually, I was like, oh, I haven't been asking. And it was that easy. I'm not saying it happens all the time. I'm not like Delulu like that. But it was a good example of like being confident enough and having enough self-belief to like ask for what I wanted, which I know is also really, really hard for people who grew up like the good girl or the good boy, because quite often we didn't feel comfortable or weren't encouraged either to ask for what we needed, because we were always doing it in service to others to try and please and not disappoint and, manage the emotions of everyone around you, rather than just like, what does my heart desire? And this is what I want. And I'm going to put it out there, and it's courageous and brave. And it's pretty fucking vulnerable as well. But when you put it out there and you make movement towards it, guess what happens? Way more chance of it dropping in, and way more chance of your ability to receive to improve, because part of receiving is having the self-trust that when it comes, I can hold it. And every little bit you receive, you're like, oh, I did it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can hold more. And so it's this, I talked about it in coaching with someone yesterday, the work we've been doing over the last 3 months, he's really starting to see some crazy results in his life. And it's because it's starting to compound now. And his ability to like be vulnerable and say, he had a big race, a huge race that was some of the prep we'd been doing in coaching. And the day before, he admitted to his mate, his training partner for the first time, about feeling a bit nervous, hadn't been vulnerable about feelings as in the past, as we've been working on, and did a lot of work throughout the race. Incredible story. It like took 30 minutes off a PB because, and in his kind of racing, that's almost unheard of. So like, this is it, because the more self-trust and confidence and belief you build, the more you can receive. And as I said, the flip side is the less we're gripping and in survival mode, the more we can receive. So there's 2 areas that we really can leverage in order to receive more in our life, in our business, in our careers, with our families, with the people we care about.
Yeah. I'm so curious when you talked about your moment in November where you so clearly asked for those 3 new, you said 3 new clients, right?
2 new clients. Yeah, 2
new clients. So when you clearly asked for that, like, is there a moment in your past where maybe you did ask for something, but there was like a different energetic undertone versus now? And what is that really clear distinction that you can pinpoint in that?
I would say I was very clear on the number. So I got really specific. Now, I know with manifesting, they say different types of people should. But I know I'm a manifesting generator. I have to be very specific so that like getting clear on just 2, and 2 is enough to bring on. In the past, I would have been like, oh, I just need a few more clients. Even my energy, like there was this bit like, versus like, I want 2. Give me 2. So that was part of it. I feel like I was clearer in what I wanted and there was more self-belief. And I also knew it because I felt, this is probably it, just dropping in. I felt like I had capacity to take on 2 new people. And I also am noticing that the clients that I'm calling in are at different stages of consciousness and evolution. And because I've been through a lot of growth myself in the last few months, I knew I was ready to bring in some new people that were going to be at a different point in their evolution and development. And I have, like, they're both quite different to say someone I onboarded this time last year.
Yeah.
So I think it's got to do with the inner world work that I've done and then being very clear and specific around what I wanted.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah. And also, actually, one other thing, when you do receive, like when something comes in, and I say this to all my coaching clients, say, thank you. I'm so grateful. Like I receive it, like I got it. Like instead of being like, oh, I wonder if that just happened because, which is your protective parts coming online.
Yes.
Like, oh, well, she was a referral from so-and-so, so she could have come in anyway. Doesn't fucking matter.
Doesn't
Just
matter.
say thank you. I'm grateful. I got 2. That's what I asked for. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Yes.
That's the energy, not the, oh, but it could have, or it should have, or it would have, which is like just ego negative, protector part energy.
Doubting your way out of the magic.
Yes.
Thus furthering those limiting beliefs, just rooting those in harder.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And in those big and small moments, I recently, this was last week, I had a client and we were working specifically around receiving. And it's so fascinating. I have been doing so much work around receiving and just that collective energy. But this client had a moment in traffic the next day where she was like, I needed to get all the way over to this lane and we were like bumper to bumper and I didn't see my way through. And then I just chose to like relax, tap into that. And then all of a sudden the lane opened up. Somebody let her merge and she took time in that tiny little moment in traffic to be like, thank you so much. Like this is that receiving energy. And it's just in those big and small ways, we can really take the time to anchor into that and to like deepen that new belief and really just like embody that and become that person who receiving is so effortless.
Yes. Yeah. Which we have way more responsibility and control in a good way over that than what we give ourselves credit for. I know like last week I was solo parenting. We were late to leave the house for school. It was pouring rain. We've had flood warnings here the last week. The kids have to get all their stuff on. 3 kids, jackets, pants, boots, all the things, and get out the door. We were running late and I felt my control start to like, oh my God, we're going to be late for school and and I had to get back for a coaching call. Like I was starting to create chaos because I was trying to control us getting out the door. Thankfully, I'd just come out of a 4-day immersion where I'd done a lot of work on my control. And so I paused and I was like, you know what? We will just get to school when we get to school. My client's got little kids too. She will understand if I'm a couple of minutes late. That was how I like. Anyway, we zoomed up through the forest in the pouring rain. We got to school before the first bell rang, it was like we bent time.
Yeah.
And I got back and I got on my call. I was on time and it was so crazy because if I had gone into my normal response, my survival mode, my like control, I'd guarantee you one of the kids would have been crying because I would have stressed them out. One would have got into the I'm not moving, I'm staying home mode, which is, if anyone knows, when you're trying to control and a kid does that, that's your worst fucking nightmare, right? Because they're now controlling you.
Yeah.
And that tug of war never ends well. But I just like let go of the expectation I was putting on myself, let go of the story that I was holding on to. And the whole perception of reality shifted before my eyes in real time. And I was like, oh, wow. Powerful stuff.
So incredible.
So incredible. We could talk for hours, but we're not going to. But we would love to invite you all listening and anyone who your friends, your family who would like to start 2026 with some breath and some somatic coaching and healing work, where we will do both things that we've talked about today. We're going to go into the body and release the stuff that's keeping you stuck, some of this survival mode, these protective patterns. We're going to go into that and release it. And we're going to have an opportunity to call in from a grounded and safe and clear nervous system. We're going to call in what our heart desires in 2026 and what we want to receive into our heart and our life and our business and our relationships in 2026. We are hosting it, as I said earlier, on January the 11th in North America in the afternoon. It's January the 12th in Australia and New Zealand in the morning. And it's a 2-hour masterclass. All the details will be in the link in the show notes. We would be delighted to have you there. McKenzie, any final words?
No, I will say I'm personally most excited about this one. I mean, all of our masterclasses have been incredible, but this energy just feels so potent. And I know that we have both lived this experience of the doing, and how, as we've talked about for the last 30 minutes, how effortless like your desires flow in when you really align that energy of who you want to be, how you want to show up. It's so powerful. So I'm so excited. I cannot wait to hold space for this beautiful community again.
Yeah. And this topic as well was voted the most popular when we polled everyone on social media a couple of months ago. And so we know this one is potent. And we know it's also a really important one because of the interplay between not just what the need to want to receive, but actually all of the nervous system stuff and somatic stuff that unfortunately is stopping you from what you want to receive, which is exactly the work that McKenzie and I love to dig into and release with you guys through breath and somatic coaching. So please sign up. We would love to see you. We would love to hold you. And we would love to really crack you open so that it's a really expansive and exciting year ahead for you in 2026. We hope to see you there.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to Limitless. If you enjoyed today's episode and love hearing the stories of courageous cycle breakers, I'd be grateful if you could leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your feedback not only helps others discover the show, but it also amplifies our mission to unlock emotional freedom and true potential. Every review makes a difference in helping more people embrace their limitless life.